Okay, my name's Russell Stannard. This is teachertrainingvideos.com and welcome to this set of training videos about Moodle design. We're going to look at ways of making your Moodle site more interesting, be less just a list of links, but try to add in some more visual features, add in some buttons and labels to make the whole thing feel more like a website, feel a little bit more interactive, and hopefully make the website or the Moodle site more visually interesting and more compelling. Now, if this is your first time to Moodle, then I don't suggest you start with these training videos. I suggest that you go to teachertrainingvideos.com, click on the section Edmodo and Moodle, and when you come to that section, then choose one of these ones. Perhaps this one here, a full introduction to Moodle. There's probably some other courses there, but this is a good place to start, a full introduction to Moodle. And don't forget, whenever you watch these videos, go full screen. It's a lot more interesting to watch the videos when you've got them nice and clearly made full screen. So that's really where to go if you're starting an introduction. This set of training videos is going to start, therefore, really is just going to focus on the design issues. Not going to show you how to set up a Moodle course, etc. And let's get started straight away. I've already set up a course, so I've called it Teacher Training Videos, so I've already made set up a course, and again, that's in the introductory videos if you want to learn. Now, the way I'm going to work is I'm going to work with the grid format. This format here, which is the weekly format, will also work with the ideas that I'm going to explain today. So I will come back and look at this at certain points. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that you use the grid format to follow some of the ideas that I'm going to suggest today. It will work just as well in this format. But I will show you the grid format. It is the kind of newer format that's been introduced into Moodle. And if we come down to edit settings, so in the administration edit settings, and I'm just going to change the course format. I'm going to reduce it to 3 weeks just to make it a lot tidier. And then I'm going to set it to the grid format. However, I will come back to the weekly format at a later point just to highlight something really important in terms of the way that the course works. So with those changes, just a few changes there, I'm just going to save those changes. We come back to the screen and we'll now have the grid format available. And in the next video, we're going to start to look at this grid format, and I'm going to show you a few things that I think a lot of people perhaps I've never thought that they could do and work the course this way, and hopefully it will make a little bit of sense, particularly towards the end once you start to see the outcome. So let's get started with working with the grid format. Now, the normal way that people work with the grid format is that you basically, the students obviously normally put in an image here and change the title, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But if you click here, you open up this section, and then most of the people put the content, most teachers put their content here. But what I prefer to do, and it certainly wasn't my idea, is to use this as a kind of where the basic information is, but then have a button that goes to a page where we put the rest of the content, and that really does make it a lot more compelling. And it also allows us to do a little bit more with this actual screen here, and I'm going to show you that now. So if we come back, let's just start with a few of the basics. So we need to turn the editing on to do this, because we're going to add in a picture. And very quickly, the first thing I'm going to do is obviously just add a picture, and I'll just do the first one. I'm sure you know how to do this, but just very quickly, I'm going to choose a file. Now in this case, I could either go to recent images, or I can upload one, and I'll just quickly grab an image for the let's just see if I've got something that I can work with here. If I haven't got something on the screen that I can work with, then obviously all I need to do is basically just to go to, I can just basically upload an image from my computer. So let me do it that way. So I'm just come back to upload a file, choose an image. Let's see if we can grab something really easy. Perhaps I've got some icons or something that I can use. Let's have a look. Let's have just a quick look down here. And yeah, let's have a look here. Alright, so let's take one of these images. Okay, let's imagine that we're going to do the first unit about Jing. So we could click on this one here, for example, and then upload that as an image. And that now will appear in the grid in the first place, and obviously we can add up images for the second part. Now if we want to overwrite this here, we can click in this box here below. I've got the editing on, remember, so this, the students never see this. This is basically where you do your editing for the content, and that one here for the here, and this one here for here. But this little bit here deals with the kind of header section, and I'm going to click on this, and this is one of the areas that we're going to focus on. I'm going to turn off the default title, and I'm going to put in here working with Jing. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little description that says this first unit of the course looks at the use of Jing and its role in providing learning material on a course. Okay, now I'm just gonna save those changes. Sorry that I've actually written that out in front of you. Perhaps I should have just turned that video off very quickly. But you can see it's there on the screen now. That's not what the students see, of course. If we turn the editing off, you'll see that that information is what appears here. And this is really a clue, because see, we could use this whole header area as a chance to kind of make something a little bit more visually compelling with perhaps the introductory information to the overall course. If we wanted, we could make this the introductory unit and then have a button that you click to go into the main content. So that could be good, because it could mean that the students could come here if they quickly wanted the general information about the course, but if they wanted to go to a specific unit, they could click through. But it also allows us to add in a header and make this all look a lot more visually compelling. Now let me just give you a few clues to how we could do that. So we're going to turn the editing back on. And so we're really working with this, what we call, I suppose, the header section. The header section. So I'm going to click back again. We're not putting content in, we're just working on this header section when you click on this button here. So we're going to click here again. Let's just give you a couple of ideas. Very simple. Let's start with a few basic things. For example, I could just put a title here. So if my title was, in this case, working with Jing, in fact, let's put Unit 1, might even look nicer, working with Jing. And I can now select that, and I could make that a lot bigger. Now first of all, I could just increase the font size, and I could make it 36, and that will come up quite big. I could even do more than that as well, and that is, let's just put it down again to normal size for now. Okay, but what I could do is click here and say choose, let's say heading 2, and then choose one of these options. It will get even bigger now, and I could even turn the font into bold. I could change the color of that if I wanted to. So we could actually create a kind of title onto the screen here as well. So let me just do one more thing and see if I can change the color. So let's just change it to that for now. Okay, or let's make it a little bit more distinctive. So let's put it into a kind of blue color. Let me select it again, sorry, and put it into a blue color. So all we're doing at the moment, nothing special at all here, it's just we put this title at the top of the screen. We've got to be consistent, so we need to remember this is 36 on heading 2, not bold and in blue, because we're going to use that each time for each of the units. Now we can save those changes, and immediately when we now click on the buttons, if we turn the editing off, and this is just the start, I want you to get thinking about this. Immediately now we click through, we get a little title, and we get here. What we could have underneath, for example, could be, in this case, it could be just, well, what is this unit actually going to be about? So we could now do more to this. I'm going to carry on working on this a little bit more. I'm going to turn the editing back on. And let's imagine, for example, that we wanted to have a nice little header at the top of the screen. So I'm going to click here. Okay, so this is teachertrainingvideos.com is the overall name of the whole course, and I might like to use a kind of header at the top. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on insert edit images, and I'm going to grab an image from my computer, and I can click on upload here and then choose a file. And I'm going to grab something. I've probably got something in this section here, but certainly if I haven't, then just coming back, I'm just going to come back to pictures. I'll have my sort of admin stuff. If I click here, probably got a few. Yes. Okay, so let's imagine that I'm going to use this image here. So I'm going to click on that and click on open. So I'm going to have like a header at the top of every single unit of the course. So I'm going to choose that file, and oh sorry, I've chosen the file. Sorry, I've already chosen the file. So open and then upload this file, and then I'm going to insert. Now I could click on that image, by the way, and change the appearance because this looks like it's really big. So if I wanted to just bring that down to 600, so 600 is the dimensions, and because I've got constrained proportions, it will automatically resize the height. So I've just changed the width. I'm going to click on insert, so it's going to be a lot smaller. That's because I didn't put in a title. I'll leave that for now. One little tip sometimes when you're working with these screens is that this will make it go full screen. You can see it a lot easier. Okay, so now I've got a title and I've got a little bit of an explanation. And if I now save these changes, we get a different look and feel straight away. Now again, turn the admin off, and immediately what happens is we've got the student comes on, they click on here, and they come into this section here. Now what we could have here is a little bit of information about the course. So we've got a nice kind of introductory section, perhaps with even some basic information. But what I would probably do is just carry on writing here, and then have a button that says, right, enter course content. So we've got a header, got a title, got a little bit of general information about the course, and then a button. So you can immediately see how we can use this header section to make the content more interesting, just a little bit more visually compelling, and that rather than you've always got a massive great list of links. Now I'm going to carry on with this in the next video, again looking at this whole area of basically using the header to make the content more interesting. Now I want to take this whole idea a little bit further of adding content, and the first thing we do is going to turn the editing on, okay, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to basically get prepared for when you click on a button and then come into the main content area. And to do that, we're actually going to already add the main content. So we're going to click on add an activity. Okay, so you would think, okay, I'm going to want to add some content to this area, so I'm going to click here. Well, the answer is no, you're not going to do that. Because if you do that, any content that you add will simply go underneath this header section. In fact, what you're going to do is you're going to add a new section, add content to that new section, and then make that section invisible later on. So let me show you how you would do that. Okay, it's a little trick. But it can really lead to something a little bit more compelling, as I said before. So we're going to click on the edit settings, and you have to kind of remember the number in here, but you'll realize it gets fairly easy to do this. I'm going to come down to the format, and even though this is only going to have 3 modules, this course, I'm going to increase it to 4, and you'll see why in a minute. I'm going to click on save changes, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to that 4th section, and I'm going to add some content in the 4th section. I'm not going to do a header, because I'm not going to be actually using it. I'm going to just click on here, and the activity that I'm going to add is called a page. Okay, and I'm going to click on add here, and then what I'm going to call this particular one is I'm going to call this the main content, or let's call it Unit 1 content page, just to keep it really clear. Okay, now I can even put a little description here, and at the moment we can always turn this off later. This can be useful for a while. This is where you go to get the main content of Unit 1. Sorry. Now what I'm doing here is I'm doing this for me. I'm not going to actually use this for the students. It's just to make things really clear for me. And just to make life easy, I'm going to actually put here at the top Unit 1 content, and I'm going to choose the same system as we used before. So I'm going to go to header 2, and then if I remember rightly, we chose 24. Okay, I'm going to save all that. I'm going to do one last little thing. Okay, so we've got that now. Content. Now what we need to do now is come back to here, and we're going to edit this, and we can obviously add a little bit more here, explanation, and I'm going to do that by just putting the video on pause a minute while I just add a little bit more information about this particular course. Okay, so I've made a few changes. I just want to show you what I've done. So let's click back to that header. Well, you know that I've already put the image in at the top, and I've changed the color of the title to kind of put it in, make it more fit with the image itself. Obviously I'm not a designer, and then I've put a little, in fact let's just open that full screen, it looks a lot better. And then I've basically put down a sort of introduction to this particular unit, and then I've put the unit content. Now I'm going to do one final thing. I'm going to click down here and I'm going to insert, so I'll go back to the media here. I'm going to insert a button. Now I've already got buttons made. You can grab buttons from Google, and I'll very quickly show you how to do that in a minute in the next video. But for now I'm just going to go to my recent files, and in fact I've clicked on the wrong button now. I can see that. Let me just close that down, and what I want here is not Moodle Media, I want insert image. Grab an image, and I've got some images here. If I come down to recent files, I should be able to find some, and I'm going to use this one here which says go to unit, and that will do fine because that's just sort of go to unit content. And let me just have a look if I've got anyone that says that, or just go back, go to unit content would probably be better, but I'm going to put go to unit, that'll do. And I'm going to select this file, and I'm going to insert that into there. Okay, should put an out tag, but I'm not going to for now just because of time. I'm going to close that, I'm going to save those changes, and I'm rushing this. I realise it, I'm not particularly that good at doing design. I'm going to turn the editing off, but you'll certainly get the idea. And those of you that may be better at doing this, what would the student get now? Well, the student would get this. They'd come on, they'd click on the screen, they'd get some information about that particular unit and a button to go to the unit content. Now I could move that button to another place. If I wanted to do that, the best way to do that would be to have put this in a grid and then had that in one side of the grid or the table, and the button would have been in the other side. Okay, and perhaps I'll do that at a later stage. Let's just see how many videos this takes. Now that is then my kind of opening screen, but of course I need to make sure this button goes somewhere. How do I do that? Well, this is where the trick comes in that we were talking about earlier. If we turn the editing back on and we come down to this area here and we go to the fourth section that we created, that I've told you later we're not even going to be we're going to be hiding this content. We know it will exist, but it won't exist for the sake of the students. They won't even know anything about it. So we're just going to right click here and click on the one that says copy link address. Click on that, come back to here, and we need to add onto that button. So we're going to need to edit again, and it's always easy to add it here. Click on that button, and then we're going to click on the link choice that's here, and we're going to tell it that we want it to go to this page, and we're happy for it to open in the same frame. We don't need to open up another window. We're going to click on insert. Now we've got the basis of a basically opening screen, and then the interaction to move through to where the main content is. So let's see if that's all worked. Let's see how the student would see that. So I'm going to save those changes now, and I'm just going to turn the editing off. Student comes on the course, clicks on the unit 1, looks at the basic information and clicks the button here to go to the main content. Now there's nothing in the content at the moment. We're all ready to begin to add the content, making the whole thing a lot more interactive. Now let's build from there and start to think about the content. But before we do that, a couple of quick videos about a few things that might be important, one of them being how to find buttons. I don't want to spend too much time on this. It's really not the moment to think about this, but obviously when you are producing a site that's outward facing, particularly, in other words you're going to share the content of your Moodle site with the public, it's important to make sure that your images are obviously not copyright controlled. All images actually have a copyright. Someone owns them, but some people give permission for those images to be used by other people. Actually saying that after a while sometimes the copyright of something actually ends, so it's not actually strictly speaking true to say that everything has copyright, but most things do. Most things are still owned by somebody. So just a couple of tips. I've done a search for buttons. I can click down here in the search tools, and if I was looking for a certain color button, I could click here, for example, and say I only want yellow buttons, and then I'll only get yellow ones. Now those are buttons for, but if we come down, you'll see there's lots of computer buttons that will start to appear on the screen as well. So it's not only so in fact you probably be a good idea to write computer buttons. That might help as well. Let's just try that and see if that makes a difference. But you can computer buttons and icons might work even better. Okay, there we are. And so you get a whole series of buttons. Now, one of the things that you can do, as well as choosing the color, so if you wanted red, for example, all I'm doing is clicking on these search tools. You could also make sure by looking on the usage rights, and you might have the usage rights tag here when you click on search tools. If not, just come over to here to this little cog and choose advanced search, and you should be able to come down, and here I'm going to just choose images that are for free to use or share and do a search, and hopefully now I'm going to get images that I'm allowed to use or share. So immediately you're not infringing copyright when you do that. Okay, now obviously I'm restricting here to only red ones. If I come back again to any color, you're going to get a much bigger selection. You'll have to look at these. You may need to obviously download the button and then resize it, save it using a very simple image package, and just save it a different size. If you don't know how to do that, you might be lucky. It's not always as easy to do this, but if we come down to size, we could try. In fact, let's try icon. That is actually making the images a lot smaller anyway, so you may find that this way you can find images that you can work with. It may be, let's just have a look here a minute. If I come down to medium, what I'm going to get. Okay, but some of these buttons are probably going to be too big. So it's just to give you an idea of how you can search for specific colors. So we're using these search tools, chosen, obviously clicked on put in Google the search and then looked at images, and then we've clicked on these search tools and looked at things like the color and the size, and also we've looked at the whether or not it's commercial or not. And it's just a few tips on how to avoid breaking copyright with when you're choosing buttons from Google. Just one last thing regarding where we started originally, which was obviously working with this header. So I'm just going to turn the editing back on and try and show you this, because it can be quite useful and it can work fairly well. So coming down again, and we've added this button, but you might not like that button being there. One way to place the button, a lot easier way to place the button, and I'm just going to quickly show you this. If I come here and I'm going to go full screen, and coming down to this area here, I'm just going to click and I'm going to insert a grid. I'm clicking on this one here, insert grid, and I'm going to make this grid 2 columns and just 1 row. Okay, and I'm not going to make it have any border, and I'm just going to click on insert. But what I will do is I'm going to make the width 50, for example, just to start, just so that we can see it clearly. Okay, and you'll see now you've got, in fact 50 is probably not enough, but it will do, because I can just stretch this out now. It makes no difference if I just stretch this out. Okay, now I'm going to take this content from here first of all and just cut that, and let me just see if I can do this by let me just see if I can. If I can't do it, cut that way. Current responsive browser. Okay, so I'm going to do it with my keyboard. So that will be Control X. I've cut it, and I'm going to now click in, and I'm going to paste Control V and paste that content back inside. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, and I should be able to just move this out even a little further. I'm going to I'm going to click on this here. I'm going to do the same thing, Control X to cut that, and then I'm going to click here and then Control V, and that pastes that in. And now I'm going to just click, make that smaller, and save the changes. And now you should see that the button should sit, and that we probably can't see it at the moment the way that is, but once I click on turn the editing off and go through the system, if not we can always make the screen smaller. There it is, and you can see now that the button is here to the right hand side. So that's one way, and that's using an invisible basically using an invisible table so that we can place things, and it can be quite nice if you want to do that with images as well. Again, it's the sort of thing that you can experiment with and get a little bit better at doing. So that's another little tip in case you wanted to make this kind of opening screen even more perhaps more visually interesting, and also make sure that all the content is just on the one screen rather than having to scroll down to get to the button. So that's just an idea. Now we've got a few choices here. If we click now, we've got in this section 4, which is connected to section 1. This is going to be a 3-section course. So section 1 will go with 4, section 2 will go with 5 if we added another one, and section 3 will go with 6. So this is a kind of, it seems a little bit complicated at the beginning. Alright, so what you're doing is you've got your header in section 1, and then your content is going to be here, added this section. But remember, this is going to be invisible. Afterwards, the students are just going to see sections 1, 2 and 3, and even though it will click through to content, the students won't see it. Now the reason I'm doing this is to give the idea of a kind of website. Now one thing is, of course, that at any point you might want to come back to this kind of home screen here. So the first thing that we're going to do in this content page is we're actually going to click here on update. So we're going to update the content page, Unit 1 content. That's why it's a good idea to give it a title, and the first thing that you're probably going to want to do is have a home button. So I'm going to just move my thing here of cursor. I'm going to click on upload image, and I'm going to grab, again, I've created one and I've got it here, it's called home. I'm going to click on that button, select this file, that file's on there. I'm going to insert that. I'm not going to worry about that because I'm rushing too much. Probably could do with making that button a little bit smaller, but that's not a problem. Now all we need to do is to make sure that that then click back to the home page. So I'm going to save and return to the course, and just to make things really simple for us, obviously what we want to do is we want to, if we just turn off the editing, this is what the student's going to see, and this is the home page where the 4 main sections are. So we're going to copy the address. Now this is at the top of my screen here, you can't actually see it, but I'm just clicking on the address that's just above here. Okay, I'm copying that address. I'm going to turn the editing back on again, and then I'm going to come down to this new page that we're creating. I'm going to turn on the editing I'm going to update that particular page, and I'm going to add the link to the button. So I'm going to click on the button, open this up to make it nice full screen so it's easy for you to see. Click on that, click on link, and I'm going to paste in this link, and then I'm going to show you what's going to happen. Go back down to small size, save those changes. I'm not saying this is an easy way to work. Obviously you get more and more comfortable with it as you do it, but now if I was to turn the editing off so that we get a little bit of a feel for what the students are going to see, obviously at the moment there's still very little content in there. I click on that, I come through to this page. Alright, I'm going to have to sort out a little bit more of this, but you get the idea. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at design. I'm good at the ideas of design, but then I would click here, that would come through to the first unit of the course, and there I am, and of course I have all my content here. And what about if I needed to get back home? When I would click on that button and it would bring me back to that original grid format. Now every single page could be organized that way, and suddenly you get something that feels a little bit more like a website with buttons, etc. Lots of work I could do on this. As you can see, I'm not good at design, but hopefully you can see that I am good at thinking out how the design might work. If someone could make the buttons and the banners for me, then I could produce a pretty compelling course working this way. Okay, so let's imagine now that we're going to want it to start adding content to Unit 1. This is where we really can start to think then about just the way that we want to lay this content out. Remember, it's going to be here. Remember, the students aren't going to see this. We can always click on this button here which says update, and we're going to concentrate here now. And it really is going to depend a lot on what we want on the page. But one thing you probably noticed straight away is that, again, anything that you place here will be visualized. So let's just take a few simple examples. Okay, so I'm going to move my down, I've chosen here to have, let's just get this clear, I've got here the heading 2 on 24. So I'm going to come down now and I'm going to have links for unit 1. Let's imagine that we've got some links. Now I'm going to think carefully about my sizes. I'm going to select this. I'm coming down this time to, I'm going to choose heading 2. Okay, so we got here, this is going to be smaller, this is heading 2, this one here is heading 2 but with a larger size, so we're keeping it on this one here. And now I'm going to have my first link, which is going to be teacher training videos.com. I'm going to select that. I could have put a description if I wanted to, and I'm now going to click on the link button, and because it's external, www.teachertrainingvideos.com, because it's an external link, I'm going to open it in a new page. I'm going to click on that and click on OK. We've added that. I'm going to add another one now, which is going to go to the Jing site, where to download Jing. Second link, again selecting that link, and I'll need to obviously get the Jing link, so I'll just quickly go and get that. So I've just copied the Jing link. I'm coming back, I'm going to select that text, I'm clicking again on the links button. This is the reason why I like doing links like this rather than doing it using the URL, because I can add multiple links all at the same time. Again, I'm going to force that to go in a new page. I don't want to, when you link into something external, you really want to make sure that it's, and I'll just do one more, just to say, let's say Russell's website. So this is just starting with a few links at the beginning of the course that the students might find useful. Clicking again on here, again putting the www.russellstannard.com, and again I want to open that in another window, and I'm going to insert that. Okay, so I've started straight away, so we've got links for unit 2. Now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put unit, so we've actually got there links for unit 1. I'm going to change that to unit 1 links. I think the unit should come at the front. Unit 1 links. Now I'm going to do, the next thing I'm going to do is unit 1 videos. I'm remembering the size of that. I'm staying on the same page. I can click here, remember, and go full size. It can sometimes make things a lot easier. Now click here, control copy, control C. I should be able to just move down now and paste that in. There it is, and I'm going to change that to unit 2 videos. Now this is quite a good little trick, because if you copy it, that means you'll always get the right size. So I'm going to paste in another one, and I'm going to call this one handouts. Sometimes, now let's just think this through a little bit. Let's imagine now that we want to put a video in here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to insert Moodle media. So let me just move that up a little bit, tidy that up. I'm going to, okay, let me just make sure that that's still kept the right size. I think because I've gone and closed changed the font size of it, I think. So I want that a little bit bigger. So on that one there, that's okay. Right, so coming down to here, video, I'm going to move down my cursor, and I'm going to now click on insert Moodle media, and I'm going to find find upload video, and we'll grab something from YouTube, and then we're going to put in the word Jing. Let's see if we can find anything on Jing. Do a search. Might need to put TechSmith Jing to find it. There it is, how to use Jing. Select this file, and we're going to insert that into the screen. And now let's have a look. We'll just stop there. We'll come and do the handouts afterwards. Let's go down to smaller size. Let's come down and save and return to the course. And let's just get a quick look now at what the student would see. So we'll turn the editing off, and hopefully you'll start to see now we're building up the content. So the way we've done this now is that you click here, it brings you to this information about the course, and we can click on this button here and it brings us to the actual content of the first page. The first page content includes the home button, too big, obviously I need to tidy that up a little bit. Again, I could have put that in a kind of table and tidied it up again. We got the videos for the first unit, and we've got the handouts for the first unit. In fact, we've got the links as well. We could change the order of this anyway. We haven't put the handouts in, but you can see straight away that it's visually it's not very good because my design is terrible, but you can see the way that the whole functionality, the way it looks or the way it could look, is more powerful. It's a little bit more like a website, and if I click on the home button, it's going to bring me back to the home, and again I could then go into section 2, section 3, section 4, etc. So if we was to look again at that diagram just very quickly, you can see then the idea is that you're in the grid, you click, you come to your basic information, you click on that button that takes you to the unit content. The unit content is here, and we've got some links. We've got a video so far, and then we've got a title that says handouts, but we've actually got nothing in it. Now occasionally you will need to go to another page, so you're going to go down one more level to level 3, and when you do that you'll need to have a button or a link that would bring you back to level 2. I really don't suggest going any more levels down. I think this works. So you're in the grid, boom, get the general information, boom, into the main content, and you may go down one level, but then you come back. This will give you a feeling like a website, and generally you can stop the user getting too lost. It's not always possible to avoid that, but a lot of the time it is. And I'm going to show you now then how we could add a level 3 section and then a button that would bring us back. So if we just come out of that, come back into the Moodle site, and here on the Moodle site at the moment then the first thing we're going to need to do in this section 4 is to add some new content, and then we're going to need to link this content from here so that it goes to do that page, and then something from here to bring it back. So we're going to need both. So we're going to add new content, so let's get that done first, and we're going to create a label. So sorry, just to quickly point out then, I'm adding an activity, and I'm going to come down and add a page, and I'm going to call this, I'm just going to add here what we call I'm going to add an article, make it really quick, Jing article. Remember, you're seeing this and this is useful for you, but no one else will be able to see this. The students will never see all this information, because you will close section 4 and only have sections 1, 2 and 3 on the screen. So I'm going to come down here, going to click on full screen, and I'm going to add in this Jing article, and I'm just going to start by putting a title in. So article on flipped classroom, and okay, which is about using Jing for the flipped classroom. And I'm just going to quickly grab an article, so I'm going to click here and select this by pressing Control A, select the whole thing, copy it. So I'm just going to copy that, come back to Moodle, and what I'm going to do is click on this button here which says paste from Word, and then I'm going to just right click and paste, puts all the text in, and I'm going to insert that text straight into the screen. There it is, all on the screen. I'm going to tidy up this and try to always be, so in fact that's already got a title, so we don't need it actually. So we're going to need then to just make sure that you're really consistent with the title sizes that you decide to use. So whether or not, for example, we're going to go for header 2 or header 3, but try to be really consistent with the title sizes you use, so that you get a general look and feel that's very familiar. Now we're going to need a button to come back. Now it could be a link. We could just say back to content and just write that back to content and then just add a link back to the page, or we can add a button. So I'll add a button, but a lot of the time, especially when you get to level 3, it's actually quite nice just to use a link to get back. I'll use a button, so I'm going to click here because I've already got some buttons uploaded from previous courses I've created, and this one here, back to unit, go to back to unit, this one here, I'm going to just click on that and select this file and insert that. I should really write the alt text in, but I'm just going to, now I'm going to need a link. I'm going to need this to link to something, so I'm just going to click that and I'm going to show you how we do that. Come back and save and return. Now we need to start linking this content all together, so let me just click on save and return to course. It's because I didn't put a description in. You have to put a description. This is a text article about Jing. Sorry about that. Down here, save and return, and then now all I need to do is just go over this first piece of, this is the main unit content, remember it's called content page, right click and copy link address, come back into that Jing article. Okay, two things we're going to need to do now, I'm just going to show you. So we're going to click on that to edit it, because we've already put the button on there. All we need to do now is to add the code to the button, go full screen, it's easier. click on the link, paste in that link that you've just copied, insert, make it smaller again, save and return. And now you need to do the same. I'm going to roll over here, right click, copy link address, because we need this now to link from here to here. We've linked from here to here, so from Jing back to the main content, we need to move the other way. So we're going to come back here again and update, and I'll do this simply through a link. Okay, so we're on the main content page now. Let's go full screen again, and here I'm going to write article about the flipped, in fact, classroom and Jing. So doing that not as a button but as a link, because it's content. I'm going to select that, going to click on the link, and we're going to paste in. Remember, we've just copied the address, so we're going to paste that in, insert. Now we're finished. We have now got, close this window down to smaller size, and don't forget to save, something I'm always forgetting to do. We have got the basis now of a course. Let's have a look and see if or not it's going to work. I'm sorry about my terrible design, but in terms of the navigation and the ideas of the design, hopefully, almost a contradiction there, but hopefully you'll see what I'm saying about the way I'm organizing the content. So I'm just going to turn the editing off, and let's just talk it through a little bit. Student comes on the course, they got 3 modules, and we'll look at that in a minute. They click on the first one, they come to this thing here, they have a quick read about the first unit of the course, they say, right, let's go to the content, off they go on to the actual content, and they've got a few links. If they click on these links, it will open in a separate page, so that will not stay in the same page. As you see, it's opening a separate page, so I've now got 2 pages because that's linking to something external. So I've still got the content here, and I can go to these external pages and close that down as well, come back again. I've got a video that I can play here, and I can click on that video and start to play that. I can even go full screen, and now I've got a handout. Now this handout is going to take me to level 3, so I click on the handout, it pushes me off to another page, which is level 3, and we got the article here. We can read that article, and then we need to get back. We click back, and it brings me back again to the main content. Now I'm really sorry about the actual way it looks, because I'm rubbish at making buttons and stuff like that, but hopefully you can see how you could make the content a little bit more interactive, a little bit more engaging. And of course, once we've worked through unit 1, well, you can click on this button here, and it will bring us back to the top level, and then we can go to the next course. That could be a basic way, a better way of organizing the navigation, the design as well of the course itself. Now I'm not talking about the design of the actual icons and stuff, that's something that you can work on, but certainly the way the actual overall course is organized and designed. Hopefully that's helped you to understand a little bit about a way that you can work with Moodle that makes it all a little bit more interactive. Now just one final thing I want to do in the next video is, what about if you didn't do that in the grid format but you did it in a standard format? Would it still work? And the answer is yes, it would. I'm going to turn the grid format off now completely and just point out to you what changes you would need to make if you weren't doing this in the grid format. And in a way, let's just turn it off and have a look at how that would work. So I'm going to come to the edit settings, and I'm now going to turn back to the standard format from the grid format. So coming to course format here, we're not going to use the grid now, we are going to use the weekly format, or we could use the topics format. I'll use weekly for now, and let's just see how it's going to deal with these changes. Now obviously, in a way, if we click on save changes here, you should see that if we now, you've got here all the basic information about the first unit of the course, and including you've got here this kind of banner part, and then you've got the button here. Now if you turn the and then obviously unit 2 at the moment has got nothing, unit 3, etc. Now this, in terms of the way that the course is organized now, means that the students would come on and they would scroll through this first section. But then, and obviously you probably move the button in a bit tighter in this particular case, you could narrow the table that we created. But the students would be, because we're in the turn editing on, so we've got the editing off, so this is in the student mode. We'd click on this button here and it would still bring you through to the content, and then you could still then work and jump from here and then jump back to the main content of level 2 and then click on the home button. Will still bring you back to here, but not to the grid, rather directly onto this particular screen here. So you can see you can work just as well using this, and the only advice I would give you here is, if we turn the editing on and see if we can just do this, is that it would probably, the way that this content is organized, if we click here, we may be able to kind of organize the table a little bit better. So just come in, and I think we should be able to do this, because probably this table here, hopefully I could, in fact I can do this easy by just clicking on the table settings anyway. So let me just because I'm not sure if I can, let me see if I can move that thing. Oh, sorry, it is. I apologize. Yes, even I can push the content in a little bit like that. So just doing it that way, okay. And again, you might do that with the text as well. You might want to make the text not reach right across the screen. So you may sort of, for example, bring that down to here. So that's, hang on a minute. That's let's just have a look if that's come that smaller screen, and just save that. It should hopefully look a little bit tidier. Okay, so you've got the content here. You might probably need to tidy that up a little bit more, but you could make sure that your content is, or the writing only sits underneath the header, and the button now is in a much closer position. That would be your first unit. Of course, you'd have your second unit and your third unit. Now, you wouldn't see this content, because when you finish the course, what you would of course do is go back to turn the settings and just set this back to a 3-module course. So you would come back here, whether you do it in this format or, okay, so it would just be 3 modules, and the students would only see this. They wouldn't see all the rest of the content that's sitting in module 4. It wouldn't be there for them to see, and of course you turn the editing off anyway. So what the students would see is this. So that would be their first unit, a second and a third. And of course each one of these units will have a corresponding secret unit where the content for that course will be located. So unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4 would be the secret unit for unit 1, unit 5 would be the secret unit for unit 2. For each unit you would need one secret unit where the content is. I hope that explains the system. It's a different way of working. I've seen it on a couple of courses, and I think in terms of the feel that the user might have, I think it can work a lot better. I really hope you found that useful. There's lots more training videos on teachertrainingvideos.com. You can sign up to my newsletter. More than 20,000 people now subscribe to the newsletter that I send out, and also update you on new online courses that I do. All of the videos are free. You can search through here, or you can use the search engine. If you're looking for a particular course, then just search and see what you can find. So if you do, for example, a search for Moodle, then you'll get a list of courses that are related to that particular section. And also you can find out about the different courses I do. There are online workshops. These are short, just 1 hour, 1 hour and a quarter hour workshops with me, normally priced between $20 and $30. And then there are the longer courses. Currently organising a course in Camtasia that's taking place after Christmas, if you're interested in that as well. Remember though, of course, all the videos, all of the learning content here at the top of the screen is completely free. Please make use of the website, and please let other people know about it. Thank you very much.